Howdy, folks. I'm Lemon Meringue Brian.
I'm Amber.
And here's some whipped cream. Alright, folks, our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Uninviting My Aunt from my wedding over her daughter's dress? Using a throwaway and also changing the name just in case. So I'm a 28-year-old female and I got engaged to my fiance, a 27-year-old female, some time ago. It was a beautiful proposal and everyone was happy for us. Our wedding is around 2 months from now. And my aunt, 42, has started shopping for her daughter, a 15-year-old's dress a while ago. Our wedding is going to be like a lilac white theme, so when she asked what color would be best, I told her that lilac would be nice. So 3 weeks ago, she sent me a few dresses that they had picked out. They were all beautiful, but they were white. I told her that I like them, but that I didn't like the fact that they were white. She asked me if I can make an exception, since her daughter, let's call her Macy, is family. I apologized and said that I would be happier if they picked a different color. My aunt just said, well, she doesn't like purple. So I told her that the dress didn't have to be purple if she didn't like it, and that I just thought it would be nice. Obviously, not everyone's going to be into the theme. I'm not going to force anybody, because I don't want them to feel uncomfortable because of the color of their clothes. She called me, telling me that I'm selfish for not letting Macy wear that dress, and apparently I'm shaming her, because it's a little revealing. I never said anything about that. Neither did I think that the dress was even revealing. Like I said, as long as they're comfortable. She hung up on me and later asked me to go out for a coffee and talk about it. She apologized and said that she just didn't feel that it was fair, that since me and my fiance will both be in white, it's already untraditional, and there's nothing wrong with another woman wearing white dress. Apparently, Macy cried when she found out that I didn't approve of it. I asked her what she meant by untraditional, and she went on to explain that a woman marrying a woman is not very common or morally right. And also, how is it unfair that I let my younger sibling, a 13-year-old non-binary, wear a suit instead of a nice dress? I said that I have to go, and I left. I also thought it was weird that Macy was mad about the dress, and I texted her to apologize if I upset her. She was confused and said that she had no problem wearing a different dress and actually refused to choose from the white dresses that her mom had picked out. She sent me a screenshot of a cute baby pink dress that she found and wanted to send to me before her mom took her shopping. And I told her that I would buy it for her. She thanked me and apologized for her mom. I told her not to worry about it. I called my aunt, that I no longer want her at my wedding, and that Macy is still invited. She cried and screamed and said how dare I uninvite her, and it's unfair that Macy still gets to go. My mom told me that I had made a good decision and that she has no problem taking Macy to the wedding with her. My fiance also said that I did the right thing, but my aunt's husband and her friends are calling me a jerk because it's just a dress and she's from a different time. So I can't blame her for what she said. So am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. What your aunt is doing is really gross. She's trying to use her daughter unwittingly as a prop for her bigotry. And that's just disgusting.
It really is. That's really what this boils down to. It's clear that she has a problem with everything about this wedding, and she's trying to make it as uncomfortable for UOP as possible.
And she's from a different time. She's in her 40s. Like, I mean, that argument doesn't fly with people even who are older, but she's in her 40s.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, 40 is not that set in stone here. And I can certainly understand OP's frustration. I think that OP has every right to uninvite somebody who is literally trying to cause trouble.
Yep.
And it's just really unfortunate because she lied after lie after lied here, and it's just not fair to OP.
Yeah, well, and it's also better for the daughter that she doesn't have her mom, like, trying to force her into a white dress to make her weird message about how none of this matters because this isn't a traditional wedding.
Yeah. So I just think that OP is in the right here, and that this is a horrible attitude on the aunt's part, and you can't trust her to not do something at the wedding to ruin it, because she's already trying to ruin it as is.
That's literally the only reason she wants to go, is to make a show of how she does not approve and how much of a farce this is or whatever.
Yeah. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And 3 Dog Knits says, no question in my mind, not the jerk. And you've got a real doozy for relatives though. At least Macy and your mom sound sane. Best wishes for a beautiful wedding and happy life together. And OP replies, thank you, it means a lot. And Primary Criticism 929 says, not the jerk, it's not about the dress, it's about the lie and the bigot comments. And Desert Song La La says, not the jerk, your aunt manipulated you and Macy throughout this whole dress ordeal. This is the issue. Macy contributed facts confirming this. Your aunt grandstanded how you wearing white is not morally aligned. These are contemplative, intentional beliefs and acts. So glad the next generation are kind and intelligent. Enjoy your wedding, bliss, and be sure to take a picture of you and Macy, since this experience will deepen your bond. Speaking of weddings, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for wearing my wedding dress to my ex's wedding? I'm a 40-year-old female and my ex-husband a 42-year-old male, and I have 4 kids. A 20-year-old female, a 16-year-old male, a 16-year-old male, and a 10-year-old female. My ex-husband, who I'll be referring to as John, recently got married, and I was invited to the wedding to accompany my 3 youngest, but especially my youngest because she still splits custody between John and I, while the twins are able to choose who they want to spend their time with. I didn't want to go out and buy a new dress for the wedding, and while I was looking in my closet, I came across my old wedding dress. Now, it's not a traditional wedding dress. It's short and above the knee, it's off-white, and it looks like a summer dress. And seeing that it's May, I thought that this would be the perfect dress. My eldest daughter, Anne, thought that it would be really tacky to wear my old dress, but one of my twins, Jack, and my youngest, Emily, didn't see a problem with it. I especially didn't see an issue, as not many people there besides John's close family will recognize the dress. The wedding comes around this past weekend, and I show up with my 3 youngest. Oldest drove herself in my dress. When I got there, I drew a few stares from John's family, such as my ex-sister-in-laws and mother-in-law and brother-in-law. The wedding went beautifully, but during the reception, my ex-mother-in-law and sister-in-law came up to me and told me that it was inappropriate to be wearing my old wedding dress to John's big day, but I told them to stop causing a scene. After the wedding, I was bombarded by texts from both John's family and his new wife's family, Jessica, and her mother. I was called all sorts of names and was even tagged in a Facebook post trashing me, and the comments were agreeing. I would just like to know, was I the jerk? Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Yes, you're the jerk. You don't wear white to a wedding. We all know this. The fact that it's off-white does not make it any less wedding-y. And then, like, on top of that, it's an actual wedding dress that you wore to marry this man.
Yeah, the person who's getting married.
I can understand if you have like a wedding dress that's not a traditional color and you wear it to like a friend of a friend's wedding or something like that where no one's going to recognize the dress. But this literally is the family you married into. Everyone's going to know it's a wedding dress who was there for the first wedding.
I mean, I think if OP had taken the time to like dye it or something to that effect, where it's no longer a off-white color, then that might have been a little bit of a different scenario, because then it's not going to be really recognizable as the wedding dress, and maybe people will still notice, but I'm not sure, right? It's at least not off-white. Did this man cheat on you? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, it's like, what did he do to you to make you want to do this at his wedding?
How did he hurt you? Was this a really nasty split? That's what I want to know. Like, what provoked you to be like, I'm going to ignore the advice of my oldest daughter and pay attention to these young children who have no sense of or sensibility in what might look appropriate in a wedding. Like, Where are you coming off of this, OP? Throwing your youngest under the bus and being like, well, my youngest children thought this was fine. Well, congratulations. They're not old enough to know better.
Yeah, well, and that's it too. Like, and the thing is, like, OP was even. It sounds like the husband's family was perfectly amicable to have her there, and so like, just the level of pettiness here, I don't understand.
I think I want to give OP hopefully the benefit of the doubt. I don't know. Why would she think this is appropriate, though? It's a wedding dress. It's off-white color. And I know that they said that it was like a summery dress, but come on. Really, OP?
Well, you know when they say it's off-white or
It's
something,
white.
that when that like they're like they know they're in the wrong, because if they didn't think there was anything wrong with wearing white, they'd be like, oh yeah, I wore a white dress, I don't see the big deal. These people, like, when they try to justify it being, well, it wasn't really white, it was ivory or cream or something,
I mean,
you're wrong.
Yeah, it was clearly white enough that you wore it to your first wedding. Why did you think this was a good idea? Listen to your older daughter. Ignore the other ones. They don't have good advice. Because they just don't know any better right now. So, yeah. Anyhow, OP, I do think that you're in the wrong here. Unless he, like, cheated on you, you catch him in bed, maybe you were trying to cause trouble, I don't know.
OP could have worn red.
OP could have worn red, I don't know.
Because that's the color if you slept with the groom.
Yeah. So let me know what you folks think. Anyhow, take care and good luck. And Yakking Bee says, it's interesting that you bypassed the etiquette advice of your 20-year-old child for the advice of your 10-year-old. Then you wonder why people might think that your actions were, let's say, childish. You're the jerk. You had to know on some level that this was incredibly tacky to wear your wedding dress to your ex-husband's wedding. And OP replies, my oldest and I have never seen eye to eye as she has gotten older, so I rarely take her opinion without a pinch of salt.
It does not sound good right there.
And Goth Penguin says, you're the jerk. Unless you have the bride and groom's consent, you don't wear anything white or even off-white to a wedding, especially not your wedding dress. And OP replies, digging their heels in, but John never brought it up to me during all the conversations that we had at the wedding, even chatted a bit during it. I mean, because he didn't want to cause a scene?
Yeah, well, and the thing is, it may or may not matter to him. It clearly matters to his new wife, and this may just be a dig at the new wife. OP may be bitter that he's getting married again or something like that.
Yeah. That's what I'm guessing. There's something more going on here. OP isn't being really straightforward or honest. And I really wish they would drop the act, because I don't really believe everything's... I just didn't know any better than not to wear a wedding dress.
I mean, I just had to ask my 10-year-old, and we all take advice from our 10-year-olds.
Yeah. Alright, folks, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Revealing Why I Rejected a Promposal from Nearly 10 Years Ago? I'm a 27-year-old female, and I attended school in the UK. Towards the end of our final year, when we turned 18, our schools organized something called a formal, which I suppose is a bit like a prom without the romantic aspects, as you're not expected to go with anybody. And the idea of promposals generally isn't something that's done here. Nearly 10 years ago, as I was preparing to leave school, I found out that not only did a boy in my class have a massive crush on me for years, but he was planning one of these massive promposals that are often done at proms. He had always been horrendous to me and bullied me. He would go from calling me hideous and claiming that I would die alone and unloved, to stealing my friend's phone to get my number, or sneaking up behind me and cutting out strands of my hair that he kept, or going so far as to find my house through my father's distinctive car. Naturally, when the day for his promposal came along, he came out with a sign in front of the entire school, and I bluntly said no and walked away. I don't like confrontation or arguments, but I had no intention of sparing his feelings after all he had done, and I was honestly just uncomfortable and wanted to leave. He badgered me until the day that I left school for turning him down and being heartless. His friends did the same. I didn't care. I recently met one of his old friends in my old town. I went to the business where one of them was working, and he kept bringing this up, saying that my bully had gotten depressed after we left school and hadn't dated at all because he was embarrassed from the rejection and was still hung up over me. He kept asking me why I felt it was okay to reject him like that over some nasty words, and if I was really that petty. I got sick of it, and so I told him. Turns out, because of all these creepy things that had happened within the classroom, he hadn't seen them or even heard of them happening. His friend and my other bullies within the class were covering from him. The friend abruptly left without a word, but apparently the gossip did the rounds. Now the friends group is divided into two. Many of those who didn't know are mad at him for lying, and mad that their other friends hid what was happening as they think it went too far. The others are mad at me for airing his dirty laundry. His parents apparently also know now, and they're mad at him that he had their sympathy through lies. And now that they know, he practically stalked me, which brings up the question about whether they want him to take over the small farm versus a younger brother. I wonder if I should have just let his friends be mad at me. I'd probably never seen him again anyways. I didn't know that he would tell anyone, as he had never been one for gossip that I knew. But I also didn't expect this to potentially ruin the life of someone that I hadn't seen nearly in a decade. Am I the jerk for telling his friend the truth about what happened? Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. I mean, the way these people have been treating you is completely inappropriate and unwarranted. And the thing is, you should be able to say no for any reason.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if he's perfectly nice and everything. You are totally within your right to say no to a promposal. You do not have to reciprocate someone's affections. And the fact that these people have been badgering you for decades is just really gross.
Oh, yeah.
But to top that off, this guy was stalking you. He was doing some really awful, disgusting, creepy stuff. He deserves to be exposed for that.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think OP's in the wrong here. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like Amber said, OP, you shouldn't be being punished because you rejected a guy. And if he was this hung up over you, then that's his problem, not your problem. And as for his creepy behavior catching up with him, you know, the thing is that it doesn't look like he's made any effort to change himself. It doesn't look like he's made any effort to better himself and show that he's not that same type of person who did this kind of stuff. And again, he's never reached out to you and apologized for any of these behaviors. And I think that that's pretty telling all in all. And it would be a world of difference if he reached out to you and said, hey, you know, I don't expect you to forgive me or anything like that, but what I did was really wrong and creepy, and I'm sorry for it. And your rejection at the prom made me realize and self-reflect that what I did was actually pretty terrible. And so I just feel like he doesn't show any growth here.
Yeah, well, and if he's still hung up over what happened all these years later, like he needs some therapy or something like that. But the way people are, and this happens unfortunately too often, that people are pushed, women in particular, are pushed to placate men. Like, you have to give him a chance. You're hurting his ego. Mm-hmm. And like, that's not your responsibility. That's no one's but his. Like, it's hard when people are rejected. I understand that. But that is on the the person who was rejected needs to find a way to deal with it instead of trying to force someone else to just accept them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Aka Cowboy says, not the jerk, you didn't ruin his reputation, you just made it more accurate. And OP replies, mind if I steal that one? And Cronklasword says, oh well, let them be. You didn't dirty the laundry, you're just refusing to whitewash it. Dude was a stalker and a bully. Now everyone knows the truth, not the jerk. Alright folks, this next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Ghosting My Friend? And this was submitted by somebody who wants some advice. So, let's give them some advice. I'm a 20-year-old non-binary, and I made friends with Olivia, a 20-year-old female, a few months ago through social media. We're both college students in the same dorm building, and became close. However, we've been having issues lately. There have been a number of incidents that have caused friction in our friendship, where I feel that she is being inconsiderate and inattentive. One time, for example, she ignored me to talk on the phone while we were supposed to be hanging out, or not being considerate and canceling plans without notice when her dog Lucy had a medical emergency. The final straw happened when I woke up to Lucy stepping on my stomach. Olivia told me that I needed to leave because she had a doctor's appointment. So I went home, and about 2 hours later, she texted me asking me if I would buy her a new vape pen. Her vape pen had fallen into Lucy's cage, and Lucy had chewed it up. Olivia accused me of knocking it off the bedside table into Lucy's kennel and attempting to harm Lucy. While I don't particularly like Lucy because she's poorly behaved and hurts me whenever she's out of her kennel, I would never hurt an animal. Olivia was furious and insisted that I was to blame. I was upset because I didn't do anything. Our friendship ended when Olivia called me repeatedly and then sent me half-hearted apology messages. I haven't responded, but I feel guilty for ignoring her. Am I the jerk in this situation, or am I justified in not wanting to be treated this way? Alright folks, what do you think? What advice do we have for OP here?
I mean, I think the best thing you can do, I don't think you're unwarranted for wanting to end this friendship. It doesn't sound like a good friendship. But I would recommend sending her a text, just letting her know that the friendship is no longer working, so you're clear there's no question about whether the friendship is still going or not.
Yeah, I think that it's always nice to give someone a courtesy to say, listen, it was fun while it lasted. This is just not working out. I don't feel comfortable being around you, especially after you accuse me of trying to abuse your animal. And that's just a major boundary for me. And good luck in your life. I hope that you have a great life, right? There's nothing wrong with cutting things off.
Yeah, and just as kind of a general caveat, like I think in general, if you're trying to end any kind of relationship, it's best to give some kind of notice, even if it's just a text. And I think, the exception is if you feel like you're in danger.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing in this communicates to me that OP feels like they're in danger, but if for some reason they did feel like the friend was in danger, that might be a good reason to ghost them.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, if it's, you're just worried about kind of an ugly communication or something like that and not actual physical harm or anything, it's best to at least just send someone a text so everything is clear and there's no question about what's going on.
Yeah, and there's a lot of diplomatic ways to phrase that. Anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she's got a joke.
What animal grows down as it grows up?
What animal grows down as it grows up? Oh, I know the answer to this one. It took me a minute. It was very clever. I really appreciate how clever this joke is. You see, I know what grows down as it grows up. And let me start off by saying this. I once knew a duck named Alfred. And Alfred the duck, he was a great guy. And when he was a chick, though, he started shoveling out a hole in the ground. And what this would allow him to do is he would grow downwards while also growing upwards. And so this went on for days and days, and Alfred would just shovel out a little more of a hole in the ground, while also I would feed Alfred. He had this really weird thing where he wanted to grow downwards and grow upwards at the same time. And so that's who grows down and up. Alfred the duck.
A goose.
Yeah, I mean, Alfred was a duck or a goose. I mean, they're both pretty similar. And I was like, you knew the answer, Brian, but you just wanted it to be ridiculous. And I have Mega Mint. Maybe it should have been Alfred the Goose. Alright, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Wednesday. Wow, we're halfway through the week already, so congratulations. That long weekend really chips out the time of your week, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Amber, we need some kind of moral guidance, and please say it like you are a cat that has a hat.
Okay, I don't know if this is any good, so we're just gonna roll with it because I was kind of like assuming we're going for kind of rhymey Dr. Seuss-y vibes, so that's what we got here. To the wedding you go in a dress of white. Let's hope that you are the bride.
That night. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Bye.